What's going on, yo? Welcome back to basketball. So obviously we all like watching basketball. I'd find it hard to believe you are on this channel and you don't like watching or playing basketball in some capacity. But what teams and what style of basketball do we like watching the most? For me, I personally like NBA basketball the most, and then I kind of get into some of the like foreign or like the Olympic, FIBA style stuff. I find it hard to watch like G League and college stuff most of the time. I don't know, I feel like it's a little bit disorganized at the end of the day, but I love watching NBA basketball. But hey, not every NBA team is equal, and obviously there's biases here and there, but like what teams do I, like as a former coach, generally just really enjoy watching? And that's what I want to explore in this video. So hey, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment. I've responded to every single comment on my YouTube channel up to this point, and I intend to keep on doing so. All right, let's get into it. So I'm back here on Tier Maker. I threw this together very, very quickly, and this is how we're going to do this. This is just my opinion at the end of the day, things that I like to watch and things that I like to see on the basketball court at the end of the day. Feel free to leave me like your opinions if you find teams or that you like or dislike more or less. Like, this is the perfect video for you guys to go and disagree with me in the comments, right? Because it's all just an opinion at the end of the day. So here's what I've got here. I've got all 30 NBA teams, and I've got 5 different categories. The first one, the top one being, I want to watch every single game of this team if possible. Like, I consider them like can't miss basketball. I'm going to try to watch every single game that I can of theirs this season. Fun teams. Basically, if there's not like an every game team on, like this is the next team that I'm going to go and watch. I really like watching this team, but I don't need to see every single one. Curious to watch teams, meaning like, you guys get it, it's in the middle, right? Like, it's maybe not the most impactful team right now necessarily. Maybe they're like kind of going somewhere. It's hard to say, but it's like, yeah, I'm kind of curious to watch this team. After that, they've got a guy or two. Because we're all probably basketball sickos watching these videos for the most part, there's probably a player or two on every single team that you find somewhat interesting to watch, right? Like, maybe you just want to watch the individual highlights of them. So teams like this, that's a team that I'm curious about a couple of their dudes, and at least I'm cool to watch them at the end of the day. And then we got, yeah, I don't really care. I don't know what team this would be exactly, because I'm curious to watch every NBA team in some capacity, but I'm sure that there's maybe 1 or 2 teams that I'm just kind of like, I just don't really care to watch them this year. So that's what we got. Let's start going into it. Alrighty, I just kind of went and mixed up the order of the teams because why not? I didn't want it to go in alphabetical order. The Memphis Grizzlies. That is a team that I'm going to say, look, they've got Ja Morant, and that alone makes me want to put it here, but I'm going to put it in the fun squad. Here's the thing. So they're kind of making a comeback this year, right? We didn't get to see much of Ja Morant. We're all very desperate to see more Ja Morant because we like watching him play basketball at the end of the day. Totally understand that. They've got a lot of other good players on this team. They've got Zach Edey that we're curious as to where they're going to go. I don't know how high the Memphis Grizzlies rank, though, in terms of like total watchability outside of like Ja Morant. And so that's why I want to put them just kind of in the fun tier for now. They don't exactly have like too many guys that I'm curious as to how they're like gonna do. It's more so like, okay, is this team actually gonna be like an elite like Western Conference team, or what's going on? But look, they've got Ja Morant, and so at the very least, I've got to put them in fun, right? Like, I feel like I have to. Who do we got next? We got the Toronto Raptors. Where the hell am I gonna put the Toronto Raptors? I want to put them in I'm curious to watch. And I think that's where I'm going to put them for this. And it's because I am genuinely curious to watch. I'm glad that I titled this that, because that is a perfect descriptor for the Toronto Raptors. So we get a full season of this little squad that they've put together, right? Of the Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, Scotty Barnes, and co, right? They've got a couple interesting young guys that they're trying to develop, like the Jacoby Walters. They had 4 picks this year, but Jacoby Walter being their first round pick. Grady Dick's coming into his second season. How good is he going to be? They've still got guys like Bruce Brown on the team who are very, very solid, but like we saw Quickley and RJ Barrett like really step into these like new roles with this new team really, really well. Scotty Barnes is a really, really entertaining player at the end of the day, but like I don't foresee this team necessarily sticking together for forever. I don't know why. It doesn't really interest me in the long term, because do we really see like a high ceiling with this squad that we have here? I don't necessarily see it. So that's kind of why I'm just more so curious to watch, because how they play this year is probably going to determine like what actually ends up happening with them and this team going forward. So that's why I'm going to put them in curious to watch more so than anything else. The Washington Wizards. Okay, I wasn't sure that I was going to have a yeah, I don't care team, but I kind of have a yeah, I don't care team. I know they have a lot of interesting young players and like Alex Sarr, like Bub Carrington and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, we have to remember this team's like first five is still mostly going to be it's going to be Brogdon, Jordan Poole, Kyle Kuzma, maybe throw in Koulibaly. It's probably going to be Sarr. And then you've just kind of got like, I don't know, do we really think the Wizards have changed all that much? I find that hard to believe. They were really, really hard to watch last year, in all honesty. They just didn't really even look like they were playing NBA basketball for most of the season. So I really don't care to watch the Washington Wizards this year. And I know that they've got a couple first-round picks on the team. But again, it wasn't like an elite draft. Like, do I think Keyshawn George is going to be something all that crazy? Maybe not necessarily. I'm curious about Bub Carrington. I'm curious about Alex Sarr, like any young players. But I don't know. I feel like I'm going to struggle to watch this team. I don't believe that the Washington Wizards are anything different than they typically are, which is just kind of a frustrating team to watch and to probably cheer for, I have to imagine. So that's probably where I'm going to have to put them. The Portland Trailblazers. Okay, this is a team that I could very much see fitting in here as well. I feel like they have to be like the preseason favorite for worst team in basketball, but they do just have like a guy or two that I really want to watch, and that's Scoot Henderson and Donovan Clingan. Are they ever going to move DeAndre Ayton? Maybe not. I'm not saying that they necessarily have to. I just think that they should. I think that as long as he's there, it's going to be a problem for Scoot Henderson and his development. I'll be curious to see what they do with like Anthony Simons and Shaedon Sharpe. So like they got some guys that I'm watching. I don't really know about the team in itself. So like I'd turn it on to watch them at the very least. I'm not sure it's going to be pretty. So here's the thing. If you told me they should be down here for you, I wouldn't necessarily disagree. If you're a Portland Trailblazers fan, I'm sure they're a lot higher. But even you have to say, like, this is just kind of this is going to be a year, right? Hopefully you're going to get Cooper Flag or something like that afterwards, because I just don't know. The Oklahoma City Thunder. Where do I want to put the Oklahoma City Thunder? If they're playing the Spurs, I want to watch that game for sure. And now they've got Shea, they've got J-Dub, right? They play with a lot of energy. I will say I find their style of basketball pretty boring, and it's pretty kind of monotonous in the way that it's very repetitive, which I do think that there's probably strategy behind that from Daigneault, right? I think he's like, okay, I've got all these young guys. Let me keep it really simple. They're very talented. Let's just kind of make them kind of go through this whole drive and cut thing over and over and over again. They've got good players. It's always fun to watch Shea just because he's so pure in the way that he does basketball. I think J-Dub is going to be a star in this league at some point in his career. So I'm going to put them in fun team because they are a fun team. I don't think I necessarily need to see every single game, though. That's kind of where I'm at with them. Boston Celtics. This is going to be a curious to watch more so. Here's why. We know the Celtics are really, really good. I'm not necessarily expecting to see anything else. They don't always even play like the cleanest style of basketball. At least they didn't during the regular season this year, even during the playoffs at points. Like it just seemed like they kind of took their foot off the gas. They're incredibly talented. There's not really like a young guy on the team that I'm watching to see like explode or something like that. It's kind of just going to be a repeat of last season, which like, look, like if they're out there and they're just kind of beating the crap out of everybody, that's fine. That's just not that entertaining for me to watch at the end of the day. Are they still probably the best team in basketball? Probably. So, nonetheless, that's kind of where I want to put them. The Phoenix Suns, that's also going to be a curious to watch team. They're kind of the same thing of like, are they going to bring it every night? They've got all this talent. I'm more curious to watch them this year because they've gone out and they've added Tyus Jones, Monte Morris, right? Mason Plumlee's on the team, right? Like, how is Ryan Dunn going to be for them? Like, they do have some guys, and I'm just curious to see their fits. I feel like they've patched some of the holes that they had last season. There's still some defensive questions that we have to answer, but at the end of the day, like, just what I want to see, like KD, Booker, and Beal just work well together because they're just three of the most pure hoopers we have in basketball. And so I'd like to think with kind of the reformed roster that they have this season that they're going to be interesting, but I don't want to put them any higher than that, so I'm just going to keep them as curious to watch. Okay, Detroit. I can't put them any lower than they got a guy or two. They're not like the Washington Wizards because they've got a decent little team now. I want to see Cade Cunningham. I want to see Asar Thompson. I do love watching Asar Thompson play. I love watching him play. I like Duren a lot. Like, is Ivy going to get a chance to be something? I don't know. They've at least got some good vets on the team now to hopefully make the game a little bit easier for the Cades and the Ivies and the Durens, Asar Thompson as well. I don't know how I feel about Ron Holland being on this team. Well, I do. I'm annoyed by the pick of it more so than anything else. Not because I don't think Ron Holland can't become something one day. I just don't trust them to handle the development process, and they're not putting him in a great situation to start off with. But nonetheless, they've got some guys that I'm going to be curious to watch, and I'm not sure you could reasonably put Detroit any higher than this, but that's just me at the end of the day. The Golden State Warriors. Where do I want to put the Warriors? They have Steph Curry at the end of the day, right? And so, like, any night Steph Curry can do something, so I feel like I have to put him higher. I am very curious to see him and Buddy, like the Splash Buddies. Is that what we're calling them this year? The Splash Buds? That's a fun name. I don't love, like, the rest of the roster and everything. Like, how good are the Warriors going to be? I don't really know. But I feel like just having Steph Curry alone should almost put you in the fun team category, because, like, they still should be playing this really fun, unselfish style of play that just still, like, mesmerizes a lot of us, especially those that are really curious in the X's and O's side of basketball. I will say it kind of messes it up a little bit when you got guys like Moody and Kuminga out there who just don't fit the system very well, but Steph Curry alone, like, I feel like if the Grizzlies came this high, I feel like I have to give the Warriors this spot on here. The New York Knicks, first team, I want to watch every single game of it. If anything, right, like, aren't we just all, like, entrenched in the story that is the Nova Knicks at this point? Like, I'm just waiting for them to sign Ryan Arcidiacono now, and whoever else they can find. Like, I don't know what other Nova players are out there for them to sign. I know there's, like, a couple more, but anyway, like, this Knicks team is so stupid loaded. It looks like a lot of fun. I just want to see those guys out there having fun, doing all their dances and everything, and just being good buds, playing good hard-nosed basketball. They give a great effort. Like, they're tough defensively. The Knicks, I'd find it hard to believe that there's a team higher than the Knicks that I necessarily want to watch this year. And by the way, I'm a Bulls fan, just so you guys know that right off the bat. So, like, obviously I'll try to not let that bias me in some capacity in this. But, like, the Knicks, man, that's the team to watch. And then going just not too far from them, I'm putting the Brooklyn Nets down here. And here's why. Nets are not going to be good this year, right? They're going to be really, really bad. They also are, like, they just kind of finished the teardown process. There's nobody on the team yet outside of, like, Jalen Wilson, I guess, is interesting. Interesting is probably the, like, where I'd keep it for now. I am interested in him, but, like, they don't have that dude yet that they're building around yet or anything. So this is just a team that's waiting to be torn down more, waiting to get some more young talent. The Brooklyn Nets just deserve to be down there. The Charlotte Hornets, I am curious to watch the Charlotte Hornets. Could they be a really fun team this year? I could totally see that. I'm not sure I'm ready to love this team, though. They've just been burning their fans for so long. They've got an interesting little squad. Do I think they're going to be in, like, playoff contention? No. Like, I don't think they're going to be that good. But at the end of the day, you got LaMelo Ball, you got Brandon Miller. I want to see Salon out there doing some things. Like, Miles Bridges is obviously going to be on the team. He's incredibly talented. Like, who's going to be playing center for them? Hopefully Mark Williams is healthy. It's just historically, they've played kind of a gross style of basketball that hasn't been very good. They were, like, the number one, like, isolation team last year, and for no good reason. So I don't know. It took them way too long to figure out what to do with Brandon Miller too at first, but that's just whatever, right? It's not a big deal. But I am curious to watch them at this point because they've had a good offseason. So there you go, Charlotte Hornets fans. Hopefully this new ownership group is going the right way. They seem like they've been making very solid, like, competent moves. That's awesome, right? That's all you can ask them to do at the end of the day. It doesn't need to be some huge splash, but I'm curious to watch them at the end of the day because I think that'll be telling of, like, kind of where they're at. The Miami Heat are a hard one. Where do I want to put the Heat? Because, like, I'm always down to watch the Heat at the end of the day, but, like, am I really that curious as to what they're going to do? Because I feel like we're just waiting for the playoffs more so than anything. Like, I'm curious to see the Tyler Hero thing. I feel like the roster's, like, depleted a little bit. So do I not really care to watch the Miami Heat? Is that what I'm explaining? Like, can I put a preface on this that I just don't really care to watch the Miami Heat right now until the playoffs? Because I don't know why. I just kind of don't care about this team right now. Like, I guess I'm a little bit curious to see, like, Terry Rozier actually get a chance to fit into the squad. I think that was a really good acquisition. I'm curious about Khalil Ware a little bit, so maybe it's there, but I don't feel like I care that much, and so I'm trying to go with my gut on this, and I just kind of feel like I don't care. The Cleveland Cavaliers. Where do I want to put the Cleveland Cavaliers? Like, you look at the team and it seems exciting, right? Like we haven't seen this group together very much. When like Mitchell gets hot, it's a lot of fun. Jared Allen plays with a lot of energy. Mobley can at some points be really entertaining. Garland's always fun when he gets out and he's moving and he's got the ball in his hands. The bench is interesting. I feel like I'm not necessarily curious to watch the team as much as I just like watching a couple of their players. Like, I feel like I just really like Jared Allen and like Donovan Mitchell and them. So like, I feel like I'm more so watching their game for the individuals more so than the team, because I'm not sure I see how high the team can actually go. So that's probably where I got to put them for this. Dallas Mavericks, I think I got to put them in every game. For multiple reasons. One, two of the most entertaining players in basketball, and Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, right? The energy that is like Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford at center is a lot of fun. They've brought in a bunch of new players, like Klay Thompson on Dallas. Like that's I got to see that just in general. But some of the other guys that they've brought in this offseason, I'm just curious to see the fits in them. I think their team is so much better than it even was last season. They've got a whole offseason with PJ and Gafford, right? So I'm very, very excited to see this team this year. I want to watch every single game of them. The Utah Jazz. Okay, I admire the Utah Jazz a lot. I really do. They're always trying to win basketball games. That's great. They're probably trying to get themselves a Cooper Flag. Lauri Markkanen's probably still going to be on the team. He's entertaining in himself. How much do I care about some of the other young guys that they got on the team right now? Their draft picks this year, interesting. They're all going to be projects. I don't necessarily believe that they're all going to be studs, but if anybody could probably develop them, it's like Utah's probably one of the few that could. But like, I'm not like, I like Keontae George a lot. I'm not that curious in him at the end of the day. The whole like Walker Kessler, John Collins, Lauri Markkanen thing is kind of weird to watch. So I think I'm going to put them in the I don't care column for now. I think that's probably the best place that they should go. Sacramento Kings. I like watching the Sacramento Kings. DeMar DeRozan's on the team now. That's a lot of fun. I'm all about the light, the beam, and everything. A year prior, they probably would have been in the every game category. Malik Monk's still on the team. Keon Ellis is hopefully going to be a dude for them. I really like watching Keegan Murray, and I want to see the development of them. They get to go in fun team for me. They're a fun team to watch. Obviously, they're a West Coast team, so you don't get to necessarily watch as many of them when you're in the Central Time Zone like I am. But I like watching the Sacramento Kings. I think they're a really fun team. I really love the style of play that they do, the Sabonis like hub style thing. I've recommended their film, and I've got a couple like playbooks of theirs that I've kind of constructed that I've given to a lot of like college teams where I'm like, hey, you college teams that are just trying to learn how to implement a system, do this right here, and you're gonna have some good things. So I like watching the Kings. Indiana Pacers. So fun team to watch in the sense that they can put up a lot of points, right? That's really, really cool. Halliburton's a lot of fun. Siakam's cool. It's a pretty refined style of basketball. I'm curious to see where Nembhard goes. Mathurin should be somewhat entertaining this year, right? Like, I'm trying to think through some of the other guys. Like, we like Obi Toppin and TJ McConnell a lot. So I think I have to put them in like curious to watch more so, just because I want to see like if they continue to build on the whole Pascal Siakam addition and see how all these other guys coming together turn into something. I don't necessarily find them like the most fun team in the world. Like, I love that they get up and down the court and everything. That's cool. I think sometimes the defensive side of it can be a little bleh. Sometimes they get a little stuck in their offense too when it gets slowed down too much. So that's probably why I have to put them there. The Lakers. That's got to be a curious, right? Yeah, that's got to be a curious. Just because, like, you look at the team, and it's like, okay, it's mostly the same team. JJ Redick's going to be there. It's LeBron on the team at the end of the day, so that's interesting enough for a lot of people. Like, how much is Connect going to play? If Bronny ever gets on the court, I'll be curious, right? Just because, like, I'm a basketball fan at the end of the day. Those of you that don't want to see Bronny on the court, you're just lying to yourself. Like, yes, you do. You want to see it. Like, don't tell yourself that you're not curious to see that. I want to see an alley-oop between those two so bad. But at the end of the day, do I think they're like a great team? Necessarily, maybe not. But if JJ Redick can implement something, I could see them moving into like a fun team. I'm not like absolutely in love with all their players. Sounds like they're still trying to trade D'Lo. So I don't know. By the way, this is recorded on 7/27. So if anything has happened since then, well then shit. That's how it goes. The Clippers. I don't want to watch this team. I'm going to be so honest with you. I didn't think I'd have this many teams that I don't necessarily care to watch. I just don't care to watch the Clippers. Am I a little bit curious? Yes, but it's in the sense of like, you know, like when like there's a car accident and like you can't look away from it. Like there's that statistic that more car accidents happen around car accidents because people get distracted. That's the kind of curious that I am with this. I don't think it's really going to go well. I do think that they're setting themselves up correctly for the future right now. I've talked about it in a couple other videos. They're doing a really good job of setting themselves up to basically try to be competitive this year, and then when it doesn't work, they should be able to blow the team up in a way that they bring in a lot of assets still. So I think that's really smart of them. So yeah, that's what I'd have to say about them. The Atlanta Hawks. That's probably about as high as I can put it. I don't necessarily like watching Trae Young that much. I don't know, like I want it to just be something more. Like I want it to be, I don't know. I just want it to be more of like NBA like style complexity, offense and everything. Like Trae Young's really entertaining and stuff, and in the playoffs, it's cool to see people booing him and him just kind of going at people because that's what he's used to from like his childhood and everything. That's awesome, right? But like, I don't think I care about this team that much. I don't know the direction that it's going right now, and I'm curious to watch Reece-Shea, right? Like, I'm curious to see Jalen Johnson. Like, how good is he gonna get? Outside of that, I'm not really sure where I want the team to go from there. So that's probably where I gotta put him at the end of the day. The Milwaukee Bucks. Where do I put the Milwaukee Bucks? I still want to put the Milwaukee Bucks up here, actually. Am I worried about what Doc Rivers is going to do with this team? A little bit. I think we all are reasonably, but they still have Giannis and Dame, right? They still have Giannis and Dame, which I think we've all just forgotten about how good both of those basketball players are, and in theory, how good they should be together. They still have a lot of other fun players on the team. I love Bobby Portis like nothing else. I like Gary Trent being added to the team. Chris Middleton is cool when he really gets going and he's healthy. Like I like Splash Mountain, Brooke Lopez, but it's just like Giannis and Dame are so fun in themselves. So I feel like I have to put them there. Where do I put the Denver Nuggets? Like, it's not like the flashiest style of basketball at all times where it's like, yeah, I got to watch like every single game. The story of it is kind of interesting because their bench is pretty depleted at this point. So, but like Jokic alone is probably worth the ticket, and Jamal Murray's awesome. I love Michael Never Swing the Rock Porter. So where do I put them? I feel like I have to put them in fun team. Just like, I feel like that's a minimum, right? When you have a player that's that good on the team, like, is Christian Brown really going to be that dude? Like, I have a lot of hopes for like Julian Strawther. I think he could be a really nice player for them this year. Is Peyton Watson going to develop? I'm curious about those guys. So between that and just like the star talent that they already have, I feel like that's a good place for them to go. The Pelicans. If the Pelicans are healthy, I kind of want to put them in an every game thing, right? Zion is so fun. Like, Brandon Ingram's still going to be on the team. I like watching Brandon Ingram play for the most part. They've got a new point guard in DeJounte Murray, which could be really I'm curious about. Like, Zion alone makes it so interesting. I love Herb Jones and Trey Murphy. If Alvarado's still on the team, he's still a free agent. Why is no one talking about that? Where do I want to put this team? If healthy, I want to watch most games of it, but because I'm a little bit scared of all of that, I'm going to put them in a fun team. I think they're a fun team at the end of the day. And I don't expect this to be a nice bell curve, by the way, because that's just not how I expect this to work. Anyway, moving on to the Rockets. This is like the definition of a curious to watch team, right? They've got all these young dudes that they're kind of trying to build around with the rest of the vets. I really like Alperen Şengün. He's just fun to watch at the end of the day. But I don't know how good of a team they're going to be still. I don't always like watching Jalen Green play basketball. There were points last year where it certainly got better, but I'm still kind of like, at points. I'm curious to see how much time Reed Shepherd gets. I love Amen Thompson, so curious. I'm respectfully curious. Philadelphia 76ers. Ooh, Philadelphia 76ers. Okay. Where do I want to put them? I don't know. I don't know where I want to put this team. They're not fun to watch, is not how I would describe them. I'll put them in curious. Because the Paul George edition is interesting. They've brought in a couple other interesting players to this team. And they should be a good team. I like watching Tyrese Maxey more than anything else. I think he's a lot of fun. The Embiid, like, physicality is really cool at points, and what he was doing last year was extremely impressive. I do get a little bit bored watching his style of basketball, especially just because, like, when you do have time to game plan for it, it's easier said than done, but like saying the answer for how to stop Joel Embiid is not that complicated at the end of the day. It's just like actually executing it, but you know, that's just me talking. I'm moving on from that topic. But I am curious to watch the team nonetheless. I think they should be a good basketball team this year. Really curious to see the development of Maxey and all these role players that they've kind of put around them. And at the end of the day, Jared McCain's probably going to be all over my TikTok feed, even though I really only watch TikTok at night to help my fiance fall asleep. But he's always there dancing, so I'll always be curious. All right, the Orlando Magic. Where do we want to put the Orlando Magic? In all honesty, like in all serious honesty, I think I'm just gonna put them in got a guy or two. Like, and the guy or two are like Paolo and Franz and like Suggs. Like, outside of that, like, yes, I'm curious about Anthony Black's development, not that much. I'm curious to see how Jet Howard does this year, because I saw the sparks that when those go off in the back of my head, I usually am like, oh, I believe in this guy with Jet Howard. So I'm kind of a Jet Howard believer that something can happen with him this year. I wish they would have made some different offseason acquisitions. I like the KCP one. I don't know how effective he's actually going to be on this team. I'm a little bit worried about that. I wish they would go and get a lead guard to help out Paolo and Franz. Like, I don't know, man. Like, Orlando sometimes really messes up these like roster building moments, and I'm worried that they're doing that right now. That just seems like the next progression for this team, and I'm not sure they're going to find it. So I'm a little bit worried about them, but like they've got guys that I like to watch at the end of the day, and I like the defensive energy that they play with. It's just, I don't know. I feel like that's the highest I can put the Magic. All right, last three teams. Chicago Bulls. That's because I'm a Bulls fan. And what I'm saying is, like, if most of you said this, totally get it. It's because I'm a Bulls fan. And it's because I am curious about, like, Patrick Williams going to do anything? How's Josh Giddey going to do? He's looked great in the Olympics so far, so that's great. How's Booz Ellis going to be? Will Javonte Green be on the team? Because that alone makes me very excited. But, like, look, man, still going to have Levine and Vucevic on the team. Like, I don't know. It's a grossly put together team. They're the Chicago Bulls, man. I don't know. They just piss me off at the end of the day. Spurs, I want to watch every single game because Victor Wembanyama is that entertaining to watch for me. And Chris Paul's going to be on the team now. That's so cool. Like, Chris Paul and the Spurs seems like a fever dream that just came true in like the best way possible. It's where he should be right at this point of his career, being that mentor figure to them. I'm really, really excited to see like the development of Devin Vassell. I really like Devin Vassell. I hope Keldon Johnson can figure it out. I like Jeremy Sohan a lot. You look at like Stephon Castle. He seems like a really ideal fit on this team going forward. I'm curious to see him develop. But like Wemby alone, like I just want to watch every single game of it. Like especially when he gets hot in like some of these close games. Like my favorite games that I watched last year were like that Spurs game against the Nuggets that like went down to the wire, and that one where he played against Chet, and it was just crazy. Even that one against the Bucks where it was like him and Giannis just going back and forth and doing stupid things on the basketball court. So that's got to be there. And I think I'm going to put the Timberwolves here as well. Anthony Edwards is a lot of fun. I really like the two rookies they brought in Dillingham and Terrence Shannon Jr. I live in Minneapolis, so I'm kind of buying into the hype. Look, Minnesota fans don't have a lot to be excited about. They're really excited about this team. I think they had a good offseason and brought in some good names. Who doesn't like watching Mike Conley just kind of run the show with things? I hope McDaniels can continue to develop. But look, like the Ant-Man show itself he's everything, man. He's absolutely everything. I love Naz Reid. Naz Reid is just a folk hero already. And I love yelling like hit the Nas whenever I'm like hanging with my buds, like watching a game and he hits like a 3 or something like that. So much fun. But hey, this is how my chart turned out. It kind of did turn into a bell curve at the end of the day. That's kind of cool, actually. So hey, maybe there is some logic to math. Like who would have guessed? Math and science do have a place in reality. But anyway, hey, I really appreciate you guys watching as always. Make sure you guys stay on the lookout for like my channel update video and everything. It's going to give you a lot of information for how August is going to go and just a little bit of insight into my life. So hey, I appreciate you guys as always, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks so much. Bye.